Hello and welcome friends to this session. Up till now we have discussed the practice of colonialism and how it impacted the colonies. Now let us discuss the history of colonialism in India. It all started in the year 1600 when British East India Company entered India. They went to the court of the Mughal Emperor Jahangir and they obtained permission to conduct trade in India. In the next 150 odd years, the company slowly expanded its influence in India. They gradually became more and more dominant, and they also started trading in various commodities in India. They started exerting more and more influence in India. In 1757, however, till 1757 there were basically two colonial powers here in India which were competing for the prized possession, which was India. The one was the British East India Company, and then the other one was the French, who also wanted to control India because they understood that India was a very lucrative colony and it had great wealth, and that was one thing which had attracted them. So there was a rivalry which was there between the British East India Company and the French. However, in 1757 what happened was the rivalry came to an end with the victory of the British East India Company over the Nawab of Bengal in the Battle of Plassey. You must have heard about this Battle of Plassey, which took place in 1757. It was fought in 1757, and basically in this particular battle, the British East India Company defeated the Nawab of Bengal, who had an alliance with the French. With this defeat, the influence of French as a colonial power in India started waning, started declining, and eventually by the time India gained freedom, their influence was restricted only to a few places in southern India, including Pondicherry. So it was a decisive win for the British East India Company, and after that, after having defeated the French and the Nawab of Bengal in the Battle of Plassey, they were able to exert full dominance over the Indian subcontinent. Indian subcontinent includes the erstwhile India, which comprised of India, Pakistan and Bangladesh as you call them now. So that is the meaning of Indian subcontinent. In 1757 to 1858, the company was able to exercise full dominance over the Indian subcontinent. However, there were many revolts in between, there were many uprisings in between against the colonial rule of the British East India Company, and in 1857 there was a very widespread revolt against the company rule. Many historians call it the first war of Indian independence. In Veer Savarkar is one such historian who calls it the first war of Indian independence. Many others call it a mutiny or a revolt. But the basic thing was that so many princely states rose up against the British East India colonial rule in 1857. The uprising has said to have started from an army barrack, a British army barrack in India, where Indian soldiers, including Mangal Pandey, raised the flag of revolt for the first time. You must have heard about Mangal Pandey. And then the revolt slowly spread to other parts of North India also. So many rulers from various princely states participated in this revolt and they fought against the British colonial rule. This included the Rani of Jhansi, Lakshmi Bai, Tantia Tope, Nana Sahib from Kanpur, and so many other rulers from small states spread across North India, and the revolt was led by the then Mughal Emperor Badshah Zafar. However, unfortunately, the British East India Company's armies were able to suppress the revolt, and in under 6-7 months the revolt came to an end, was suppressed by and large. However, this led to a change in the policy of the British colonial government towards India. Up till now, the Indian affairs were managed almost single-handedly by the British East India Company. However, the colonial government there in Britain understood that this is not going to work like this, and so what they did was they took over the control of the Indian subcontinent, of the colony here in India, from the British East India Company. And this particular colony, the Indian subcontinent, came under direct supervision and control of the British Crown, and it remained under the control of British Crown till 1947. And that is why till 1857 we used to have the Governor Generals here in India, the British Governor Generals here in India. They were their supreme leaders in India. However, after 1857 we started having viceroys. Viceroy is basically a term which means the representative of the crown, the British Emperor. So the representative of British Emperor started being sent. Instead of India being governed by Governor Generals, now India started getting governed by the viceroys, who were basically the representatives of the British Crown here in India. So in the next 100 odd years, India was under the direct control and supervision of the British Empire and the British Crown. However, in 1947, as you all know, we were able to attain freedom from the colonial yoke. There were many uprisings which had taken place in the interim. There were many movements which took place, including the Swaraj movement, including the non-cooperation movement, the Dandi Yatra, the Quit India movement. And so India was able to attain freedom from the colonial rule in 1947. So this was how colonialism evolved in India, and how in 1947 we were finally able to get freedom from the colonial rule. But you should not think that the only colonial superpower which was active in India were the British. There were other superpowers also who were actively involved in India, and in fact they had exerted influence over a considerable part of our territory. This included the France. As I have just mentioned, till 1757 there was a rivalry between the Britishers and the French. However, after that the French influence in India gradually declined. However, they were still able to control Pondicherry and Karaikal, which is situated in the southern part of India, and they exerted their influence there till 1962. It was only in 1962 that the control and administration was transferred to the Indian government. Likewise, Portuguese. In fact, the first Portuguese to have stepped on Indian soil was Vasco da Gama in around 1400s. So Portuguese also had significant influence in the area surrounding Goa and Daman and Diu, and they also held on to these colonial territories till 1961, after which the control and administration again got transferred to the then Indian government. So basically, apart from Britishers, we had these two colonial powers in India also, the French and the Portuguese. Okay, this is going to be a relatively short discussion. In the next discussion that we'll have, I'll be talking about the impact of colonialism on India, and we'll be taking up the impact on different sections of the society, and we'll be doing a critical appraisal also.